Folks, Andrew here of Go Pro Wrestling and reporting for Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson. New episode every Friday at noon. Thank you, Mr. Duggan, WWE Hall of Famer legend, for your time.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. But you know the first thing Hacksaw Jim Duggan has to do is give a big ho! Kind of fires me up nowadays. You know, gets the blood in the lungs, gets the air flowing through, gets the hair standing up, gets old Hacksaw ready to go.
Now, you've done a podcast with Sean Mooney, Primetime with Sean Mooney.
Yes.
What was that like, your experience with that?
Well, I enjoyed talking with Sean Mooney. Of course, I've known Sean from way back in the old WWF days. But after doing, I think we did like 8, maybe 15 shows altogether. And I was talking with Sean. I said, Sean, I think I'm a better guest than I am a host. You know, I'm not a real student of the business. I don't really follow what's going on currently really well. So, you know, I couldn't ask questions to guys. But I could tell stories about the old days, and it was very time-consuming. So I'm glad to see Bruce doing so well also.
Can you share a story of Bruce and your time with him in WWE as Brother Love or as a writer for WWE?
Well, I'll even go back farther than that. You know, of course, Brother Love, we did a great interview with him as Brother Love, and Bruce worked his way all the way up through the organization. But I knew Bruce Pritchard way back in the old Mid-South days when we were working at the Sam Houston Coliseum for Paul Bosch down there in Houston, Texas. And I was going over to Japan for one of my first trips to Japan, and I had just bought this brand new Cadillac. And I said, Bruce, I don't know what I'm going to do with my car. I got to park it. I'm going to be gone for almost a month. He said, well, leave it at my apartment. So I left it at his apartment. And don't you know it? Somebody came and stole all my tires off my car at Bruce Pritchard's apartment. But actually, he called the cops and they caught the guy. Thanks, Bruce.
If you ever get mad at Bruce, just take it out on Conrad.
I don't know Conrad too well, but I've met him a few times and always been a pleasant guy. But Bruce and I, like I said, we go back probably 30 years.
Now, you signed a great 2x4 for me when we met a couple of months back.
That was a right-handed 2x4.
Absolutely. How many of those 2x4s have you signed for
Oh,
fans?
I signed a lot of 2x4s. You know, something unique, something folks remember. You know, get a lot of 8x10s. I told Jake the Snake, I said, you should get a bunch of garden snakes and sign them. They'd work great.
That is smart, actually.
Yeah.
And it's hanging proudly in our GoPro Wrestling studio there, so thank you for that.
But, you know, I tell you that we usually get to the Comic-Cons early. We stop by Lowe's or Home Depot, go in, get a bunch of 14, 16-inch 2x4s, and thank goodness the fans like them and still remember us old-timers.
Mike did a great job sanding them. Give a good ho for that. Now, I just wanted to ask you, Andre the Giant, they just came out with a great documentary on HBO. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Any memories on Andre the Giant that you could share? I mean,
yeah, quite a few. Of course, Andre elevated me from a mid-card guy to a main event guy. You know, Andre, he you know, of course, if there's a giant in our business, from Big Show, Yokozuna, Umaga, Kali, they're like, Duggan, get your 2x4, you know. So we're doing television, and Andre standing in the middle of the ring goes, I challenge anyone. They're like, Duggan, get your 2x4, you know. So I ran down there, and the long story short, I was able to knock Andre the Giant out on television. He split my lip up during the deal, but we went off the air with me standing over Andre the Giant, covered in blood with my 2x4 over my head. Ho! And that elevated me to a mid-card guy. And, of course, Andre wouldn't do that if he didn't want to, so I owe a lot to Andre.
what's it like seeing WWE today touring Saudi Arabia and all the original content they do on WWE Network? I mean, as a WWE legend, how proud are you to see that progress?
Well, I'm very proud of our business in general. You know, I do a lot of charity events like most of us do with like the NFL or NBA guys, and I always ask the NFL guys, I'm like, world champions? Where in the world have you boys been? You know, wrestling, we go all over the world. My own personal deal, I've wrestled every state in the Union, every province in Canada, in 30 different countries. It's amazing the appeal of wrestling around the world. Actually, in 2 weeks, I'll be on my way to New Zealand to go down there.
What are you going to New Zealand for?
It's a Comic-Con. Actually, we're going to go to leave next week to L.A. I got a stand-up show at Flappers in Burbank, May 13th. That's Mother's Day. Of course, it's a family-friendly show, but then we're going to fly to Fiji. Me and the wife, we're going to spend a week in Fiji. And then we're
Great water there.
Oh, great. You know what? I told my wife, I said, you know, Superfly Snuka's from Fiji. I said, maybe we can get an autograph session there or something. She goes, it's vacation. So no autograph session in Fiji. But then we go down to New Zealand for 2 weeks and do the Comic-Con down there. Again, amazing the appeal of wrestling around the world.
And you still do those one-man shows, is that correct?
Yep, I tell folks, of course, I think my good friend, God bless him, Roddy Piper was the first to do it. And then Foley did some, Jake does it a little bit. And I tell folks, if you'd like to hear some funny knock-knock jokes or jokes about your grandmother, then go somewhere else. We're telling wrestling stories, and you talk about wrestling Andre the Giant and traveling with Jake the Snake Roberts. And you get a wrestling crowd, and it's a fun night out. Folks ask, don't you get nervous talking to those people? How would you describe it? It's like talking to a room full of old friends. I enjoy getting out there, interacting with the people, and it's a lot of fun for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Duggan. Greatly appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Andrew. Good talking to you, my friend.
But
before we go, what we got to do, young guy. And if you're going to hoe like you mean it. Let's go, baby.
Ho!
That's some good hoeing.